It's April 2026. 6 weeks ago, the United States and Israel launched nearly 900 strikes on Iran in a single night. Khamenei is dead. The Strait of Hormuz has been effectively closed since late February. Brent crude is trading at $95 a barrel and climbing. 20,000 ships are stranded across the Gulf region. And as of this week, the U.S. Navy has formally blockaded Iranian ports. This is not a presence in the Middle East. This is the most intensive American military engagement in the region since 2003. So let's bury the narrative right now. The pivot to Asia was never the whole story, because no matter how many times Washington declared it was shifting its strategic focus eastward, the Middle East kept pulling it back, not through ideology, not through miscalculation, but through cold, structural necessity. The region sits on the throat of the global economy, and someone has to hold it open. The drawdown from Afghanistan was real. The reduction of combat patrols in Iraq was real, but the architecture never left. Pre-positioned heavy armor in Kuwait, munitions depots in Bahrain, intelligence fusion centers that don't appear in press releases. CENTCOM wasn't packing up, it was retooling. What changed after 2022 wasn't the footprint. It was the mission profile. Fewer boots on counterinsurgency patrols, more sensors, more integrated air defense, more contractor logistics. The base count shrank in political optics while the operational capability expanded. Then came the Houthi campaign against Red Sea shipping in late 2023, which forced major carriers to reroute around the Cape of Good Hope. Then the 12-day war in June 2025. Then the January 2026 massacres inside Iran that triggered the largest U.S. military buildup in the region since the Iraq invasion. The logistics tempo never stopped accelerating. It just stopped making the front page until February 28th. The post-9/11 doctrine was about transformation. Topple governments, export institutions, rebuild states. That project failed expensively and visibly. What replaced it is quieter and more durable. The objective is no longer regime change. The objective is infrastructure survival. Keep the pipelines running. Keep the desalination plants online. Keep the oil terminals functional. The 2019 Houthi drone strikes on Abqaiq proved the point. Half of Saudi Arabia's oil processing capacity wiped out in one night. Global prices spiking within hours. Markets don't care about sovereignty. They care about throughput. The American response has been the saturation of layered air defense across the Gulf. Patriot PAC-3 batteries repositioned and densified. THAAD systems covering critical nodes in Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Electronic warfare platforms, truck-mounted, ship-based, drone-deployed, engineered specifically for the asymmetric threat. Cheap Iranian proxy drones launched in swarms to overwhelm point defenses. This is the paradox of modern Gulf deterrence. The threat is low cost. The defense is extraordinarily expensive. But the alternative, uncontested disruption of hydrocarbon infrastructure, is a global economic catastrophe. Washington has accepted it will pay a permanent premium to keep the lights on for the rest of the world. Here's the geography that makes everything else irrelevant if it breaks. The Strait of Hormuz, 21 miles wide at its narrowest. Before this war, roughly 20 million barrels of oil transited it daily, around 20% of global petroleum consumption. There is no meaningful alternative route. Iran closed it on March 1st. By mid-March, only 15 ships had made it through. The ripple effects are already hitting fertilizer supply chains, Asian fuel imports, and American gas prices heading into summer. The U.S. Fifth Fleet, headquartered in Bahrain, exists for exactly this scenario. Its purpose isn't to win a battle. It's to make the battle economically irrational to start. That deterrence failed in February, and now the Navy is running the first destroyers through the Strait since the war began, executing mine-clearing operations under live threat. If Washington couldn't do this, nobody could. European navies are undersized for this role. China's blue water expansion is real, but still regionally focused. Russia's surface fleet is diminished. The Fifth Fleet is the only instrument capable of reopening and holding open a waterway that connects Asia's manufacturing base to the rest of the world's consumers. That's not sentiment. That's physics. Here's the fantasy version of U.S. withdrawal. America leaves, the region stabilizes, and Washington redirects its resources to the real strategic competition with China. Clean, logical, wrong. A U.S. exit doesn't create neutral space. It creates contested space. Beijing has spent 15 years building port infrastructure across the Indian Ocean: Gwadar, Hambantota, Djibouti. Moscow held a naval base in Tartus and spent a decade rebuilding leverage across Libya and the Sahel. Neither power would simply fill an American absence. They would rewrite the operating rules. New dependencies, new toll gates, new conditions on the infrastructure the current global trade order treats as commons. This is the geopolitical tax. U.S. presence in the Middle East is expensive, politically toxic at home, and strategically exhausting. But it is also the cost of the architecture that makes dollar-denominated trade function at scale. Walk away from the tax, you don't save the money. You lose the asset the tax was protecting. So here's the honest answer to the question. Washington pretends is still open. The U.S. is not leaving the Middle East. Not in 2026. Not on any realistic planning horizon. Not because of bad strategy or bureaucratic inertia, but because it built a global order around free navigation and open trade, and then became the load-bearing wall that holds it up. The great trap of American power is that it can't leave without dismantling the system it spent 80 years constructing. The Strait of Hormuz isn't just a waterway. It's a referendum on whether the U.S. is still the organizing power of the global economy. Right now, the U.S. Navy is clearing mines in it. That's your answer.